Running for me was a personality. It was who I was. So when they told me that that wasn't going to be a part of my life anymore, a large part of me didn't really believe it, and another large part of me just, it felt like a piece of me had just died. And this person, this athletic being that was so active, wasn't coming back, and that's what these doctors were telling me. And I didn't really want to believe it. I was in denial of my diagnosis for a long time. But holding on to the fact that one day that I could run again, I think is what kind of kept me going. I like to blame it a lot on kind of the runner's spirit. And when you're a runner, you have to push past through certain obstacles and mental obstacles to run. And I feel like that was kind of what I was doing. I wasn't necessarily competing in track and field anymore, but I like to say I was running a different race now. And running and the physicality portion of it beside, I had to now figure out who I was without running and who I wanted to be and where I was going to go, because it felt like somebody just told me my future was gone and that I wasn't going to amount to anything really. I was a college athlete at the time. I had just finished my freshman year running, and I had a lot of potential, I had a lot of room to grow. And that summer, I started cutting down my times. I eventually planned on going D1, hopefully with the dream of going pro after that. And I was starting to see a lot of really good progress. There was some minor things in my body I know that started to kind of change. I got a lot of pain out of nowhere, and it was kind of just generalized pain. I equated it to working out 2 and 3 times a day and kind of just me being overly tired. And in July of 2017, I decided to take a vacation with one of my best friends at the time. And it was on that trip when everything kind of started to drastically change. I started to kind of get this really weird pain in the back of my eye. And at first it wasn't something that was like prohibiting me from having fun on that trip, but it was definitely something that was getting progressively worse with each day that I was there. And the pain grew worse and worse, and my friend decided to leave a day sooner than I did. And so I was kind of stuck in California by myself, and my vision started to become blurry. By the time we landed, the pain in the back of my eyes grew so exponentially, like it got so bad. When my mom picked me up, I remember she looked at me and she just said, you don't look good. And I was like, I don't feel right, something doesn't feel right. She was kind of thinking that there was a migraine, but there was a thought in the back of her head that maybe it was something worse. But being hopeful, we just thought it was just something else. I remember there was one night in particular, everybody wanted to go clubbing and everybody was getting ready. And then I just remember the feeling that was in the back of my eye came back, but it had gotten so bad to the point where I couldn't get up, I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't do anything. So one of my friends at the time, she kind of saw me and she knew something was off. So she was like, maybe it might be a good idea if we go to the ER and kind of just see what it is, just to make sure it's not anything serious. When we got to the ER, of course, they see a young person coming in with no visible symptoms. They like to think it's either like a mental health issue, or they like to blame it on women's hormones a lot. That's something that I've heard a lot, is they thought it was just, me being a young girl with emotions. And I was like, no, like my vision is getting blurry, the pain in the back of my eyes is progressing. And now, by the time I was admitted into the ER, it started to progress over to the right side as well. So it wasn't just on the left, it was on the left and the right, with blurriness in the right eye. As I'm in the ER, the pain had sped up like twice the speed. So like, I just feel really super weak, feel really atrophied. They saw that my white cell count was a little bit abnormal. And I have friends and family telling me, like, it's in your head. I think you're just overly exhausted. Even my mom kind of was just like, all right, you're just being Avery. But then I woke up the following day and I couldn't move my right arm. I just remember feeling a lot of really burning, like a big burning sensation. I tried to go to the bathroom. I get up and I stumble and fall, and I get on the toilet and I wasn't able to urinate or anything. Nothing was coming out, and it just felt like the worst burning sensation you could ever feel. I tried to take a nap, tried to go lay back down and see if anything would help. I think I fell asleep for about 30 minutes. I wake up, I'm not able to move my right arm at all, and I have pins and needles in my right leg. I have a burning sensation in my left leg, and this arm felt like it was dipped in like ice cold water, and then this one is just burning hot. So there was just so many different sensations going on in my body, and it was kind of just, I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. And that's kind of when I hollered for my mom, and she saw that something was visibly wrong. She helped carry me to the car, and then that's when my rare disease journey kind of started. It was a long process of tests, blood work, imaging, and by the time that they had finally kind of figured out something was going wrong, I was almost completely blinded and almost completely paralyzed. So it happened within probably 2 hours. I think I went from being able to see a little bit out of my right eye to no sight and not being able to move. At that point, I'm a paraplegic, so it was really scary looking at healthcare people and specialists and people that go to school for healthcare and have them look at you and say, we have no idea what's wrong with you. My mom is, going through it. I'm watching her kind of go like spiral, and she's saying, is this something that I did wrong? When did this happen? How did we not know she had anything wrong with her? And I'm really grateful for this doctor that I think definitely saved my life. He was a student doctor at the time, and he had seen a case study of somebody that had exhibited my same symptoms. And he said, this is a long shot, but I'm gonna go reach out to one of the doctors I used to study under and see if it's possible that you have this. And he said a really long name, and he said, I didn't even remember what it was at the time. And on August 9th of 2017, I woke up, and it was kind of a different feeling waking up in the hospital that day. I felt kind of a shift in the energy of the doctors. And I remember there was 13 doctors that gathered outside my room, and my mom and I are kind of looking to see what's going on. She steps out of the room, and when she comes back, she's in shambles. I didn't know what was going on with her. I was like, are you okay? And she had overheard the doctors kind of throwing out some options of what they thought it was. And they thought it was either between lupus or this other autoimmune disease that this doctor had studied. On August 9th, at 10 o'clock on the dot, 13 doctors walked in and surrounded my bed. And there was one doctor who kind of took the lead as far as talking. He said he had reached out to the specialist, and they were going to do one more test to make sure that this was indeed what it was that I had. That test was expedited. We received it back, and it was confirmed that I had a disease called neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder. And they're telling me this is a lifelong chronic condition that has no cure. It comes with intermittent spurts of blindness and paralysis. And I'm just kind of sitting here like, okay, like I don't really care about any of this. When can I run again? She looked at me and she said, unfortunately, with this disease, with the progression of this disease and with the progression and the rate that yours is going at, running is not in the cards for you right now. Right, and that's the other thing, is the mental aspect that plays a portion as well as the physical aspect. So you can't control what's going on in your body, and then you go through these waves of kind of mourning, honestly, not being able to be that person that you once were. So I was in the hospital for a month, and I think I took my first steps. Like I said, I was really lucky in the area and the specialists that I have. They administered a process called plasmapheresis, and that's basically where they put a port in your neck and it connects to the jugular vein that goes to your heart, and they filter out all of the bad antibodies, making me sick and making my immune system kind of turn on you. It kind of filters all that out. So I got that, and we went through 5 rounds of that before I finally was like, okay, I want to try walking without 5 people standing next to me. I want, kind of just my nurse and me, and see if I could do it. So about 3 weeks after all of that is kind of when I was like, all right, I want to see if I can walk again. But the time period of not being able to walk and having to ask my mom to help me go to the bathroom at 19 years old was really hard. But once I finally took those first steps, I just knew that my story wasn't going to end with me being in a wheelchair. I was determined to walk again and to eventually run again. It was pretty soon after that I kind of wanted to give my time back, because I wasn't going to school, I didn't have a job, didn't have friends to talk to, so I was like, what can I do to kind of fill this time up? So the first thing that I started doing was I started making hope bracelets. So it was literally bracelets that said hope, and I would send them to rare disease patients all over the world. It was kind of a full circle moment, because I'll be honest with you, for a long time, I didn't think that I was going to live long. I thought this disease was going to be something that took my life. So when I was actually to a point where I could volunteer my time and make bracelets and go visit the hospital that saved my life, it was more so an honor, more so than in something that I felt indebted to do. So after I was diagnosed, I had met somebody that also had a rare disease, and she shared her story online.
Hey guys, remember me? Yeah, Talia, Beauty Goo Girl. Yeah. Well, today I'm going to be doing a cancer vlog, just vlog update type video. I've been in the hospital for the past 4 weeks.
So I was like, that seemed something that was so nerve-wracking, is kind of exposing who you are to the world.
Now is a bone marrow transplant, and that is going to be one of the toughest things that I'm going to have to do ever, because I've done stem cell, I've done surgery. I'm going to show you guys my scar right now, so hopefully you can see it. It goes from here to here.
But she encouraged me to make that first post, and when I made my first post, I kind of introduced myself as, my name is Avery, and I was just recently diagnosed with this disease called NMOSD, and I just started sharing my journey.
Kind of unfathomable for people to believe I was in the condition that I was, and with being an athlete, you're always kind of expected to bounce right back from injuries and to kind of have that don't tell anyone about your pain unless you're dying kind of situation. And I remember many therapists and doctors and nurses would walk into the room. This is me fresh off paralysis, and they'd be like, oh, are you running yet? And I think it took the one doctor to ask, okay, how are we going to get you to run? That I think really made a difference for me, and it kind of made me not feel forced, like I had to quickly recover from, such an attack. And I think adding more of that into our healthcare and having doctors use language that is more fitting for the patient and not bringing them down in a sense, but not making them feel like they have to be at a certain point after their attack.
And the love and support that I got was something that I couldn't find, in everyday life. And like I said, it takes a special person to understand what people with rare disease go through. But I don't think anybody can really understand it like rare disease patients themselves. Years of sitting and kind of having that thought of what the doctor first told me when she said running wasn't in the cards for me, that's something that always stuck with me. So one day when I just decided I was bored and lonely and felt like I needed to do something with my time, I said, hey, I'm feeling pretty okay today, let's take a shot at running again. And I originally had only intended on running up the hill, and that run that I went on ended up being at least a mile long. So I knew that at that point, okay, this is something I'm capable of. And it not only felt good, but it felt like there's Avery again. It felt like, okay, even though I had to take a break from it and I may not be competing or running at the level that I want to, it can still be something that's a part of my life, and I don't have to give it up. I feel like I got all the control back. Even though I still can't control my disease, I know that what I can control is the mindset on the bad days, and on the good days is pushing past that mindset of not being able to do it.
And then what's the future of Couch?
I see the future being really bright for Couch Pennies. I see us expanding nationally, globally, and not just helping people come out of the loneliness and the darkness that is having a rare disease, but supporting them and making them feel like that they too don't have to give up the things that they love, but instead turn it into something that you're passionate about and turn your pain into a purpose.